everybody. Welcome to the Marty O'Donnell Show. This week is going to be another interesting trip down into an area I didn't think I'd ever be in. My guest this week is Aaron Visconti. He has a podcast called Administrative Results, which is all about tactical gear and weapons and shooting. He's a very funny person. He makes really fun, intriguing videos. And I discovered after we finished talking that not only is he way younger than me, he's way younger than me. He's only 28, but he's a good family man. He's got a wife and two kids, and both of his children are under 2 years old, which is fascinating. But we had a really good talk about Halo and how video games and Halo influenced some of his career choices. He's a really interesting guy. One of these days we'll probably, the other thing I wanted to recommend is that he should try playing 6 Days in Fallujah, which for those of you who haven't played 6 Days in Fallujah, that's another game that I think would be really interesting to a lot of you. Anyway, let's get into the show. Here we go.
Oh.
No.
Oh.
See, that's Aaron. Well, there you go. That's better.
This is my audition. How was it? Is it good?
Yeah, I'll be calling you really very maybe soon. Yeah.
It makes me really happy.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Marty O'Donnell Show. I've already given some sort of warm, beautiful, wonderful intro to my guest today, who I have not actually met yet. I'm about to meet him. Ladies and gentlemen, Aaron Visconti, Administrative Results. Now, this is one of those marriages made in I don't know what place this was made. Aaron, tell me, why did you choose to come on my little podcast? This is interesting. Obviously, you've played some Halo. You sang something that was close to Halo.
Well, I have done countless hours of teabagging to your fine artistic endeavors. I thought it was only fitting. I can't tell you how many times I've been working out listening to the Halo soundtrack, and I thought, yeah, this is a no-brainer. I mean, the societal impacts that Halo has had on a whole generation are not to be underestimated. So I thought, let's go chit-chat with, are you Irish?
Well, I am an Irishman, sure.
Let's go chit-chat with that dirty damn Irishman.
Now, just so you know, Mr. I won't be mean about it, but I believe with a name that ends in a vowel like you must be Italian.
You can call me a dirty dago wop. It's fine.
So my company that I had for years and years was O'Donnell Salvatore. It was like a mob law firm, right? I mean, it was Irish and Italian. It was very good. My partner Mike Salvatore was. I knew a lot of Chicago Italians. Where are you from originally?
I was born in Kansas, raised in Arizona.
Kansas, Arizona. So you know the heat.
I'm very well familiar with it.
I'm living in Las Vegas right now, and it's very interesting to get used to that.
Yeah, these cities are a testament to the arrogance of mankind.
Absolutely
spitting in the face of God, thinking we can live in these places.
If it wasn't for air conditioning, these places would not exist. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, thank the good Lord.
Aaron. So this is interesting. So I was wondering why you would choose to actually accept an invitation to be on my show. Obviously, I've been trying to figure out who you are, and you're an extremely interesting person. Number one, you have a great persona online. You're low key, you're funny, you do good editing, but you specialize in tactical gear and firearms and all the sort of stuff that a lot of Halo fans would love. So I get that, but it's real life stuff you're doing in real life. So how did you get into that? Is it because you were in law enforcement at some point, right?
Yeah. I mean, I did a short stint in law enforcement. I did 2 years on an Indian reservation before they issued a mandatory COVID vaccine order, or it was, if you don't get the COVID vaccine, you're fired. I was kind of up in the air about it, especially at this time. It was a much more hotly debated topic, and it was very politically charged. And I remember it just didn't sit well with me being forced to take this. And I was even playing with the idea of lying about it, like doing the whole vaccine passport. But then I was like, if I'm lying about this as a cop, what does that say about me? Just trying to keep a job.
Good job.
And I had YouTube on the side, and so to me it was kind of like a timing thing of like, all right, dude, just you're done in law enforcement unless if you get another job, then you can go back to a different department. But you should just commit to this YouTube thing. So that's when I committed to it. Real quick on the editing thing, I want to give my editor Colton, who's off camera, quick props. He does a really good job. I used to edit my own videos, but then I've worked with some people and eventually settled with Colton, so I want to give him a shout out. He does all my editing stuff now.
Okay, it's well done.
Thank you. But yeah, no, I mean a lot of the experience came from just, and it's a very short amount of experience too, because you'll have guys in this industry in the tactical world that 20, 30 plus years, even 40 years in some instances where they're getting paid to carry a gun. And I'm on the very short end of that. So I try and approach this with take it with a grain of salt. Maybe if I was, and I don't do them as much anymore, but if I was running a piece of gear, it's like, hey, this is a small sample of the experience, and usually if I'm testing stuff out, it's not like in a high stress situation. I had my gear that I ran when I was a cop that I went through, and it had different evolution of stuff, but that's just a small part of it in my mind. My thing now is more so focusing on like trying to get a little bit bigger picture, a little bit more firearms, a little bit more history interjected in there, how these things tie in together with certain, moments, kinetic moments throughout humanity and stuff like that. So with tactical stuff, the further you get away from it, from your service, the more irrelevant you kind of become from that, where it's like, say, even the highest speed guys, you have like a Delta operator, a Navy SEAL, they get out, their knowledge is going to be relevant for a short span of time before the unit they left eventually evolves and does and changes stuff up. So it's kind of like on my end being just a beat cop, which in my opinion is a very low end version of the tactical world. It's like that stuff's going to greatly gap out and I'm going to become irrelevant on tactics and stuff like that as they evolve. So that's kind of why I've also shifted away from that in a little bit. But yeah, I mean, it's a really interesting world with the crossover with Halo and the tactical world, which I feel like the type of people that grow up playing Halo also at some point may end up getting paid to carry your gun, because there was just that pipeline of you're playing games, maybe you go play airsoft, and then you're like, hey, maybe, I have this interest in the military, law enforcement, whatever it is. And then eventually you find yourself in these dangerous situations. So it's kind of funny how it all, kind of snakes its way into the current setting.
Well, tell me that. So when did you start playing video games? When did you start playing shooters? And then when was the first time you went to a range and actually had a real weapon in your hand?
I had some really cool older brothers. My older brother was a decent age gap. So I vividly remember maybe back in like 2002, them bringing home the first Xbox, having Halo 1, playing that back in the day. Funny enough, I remember the controversy around Halo where it's like, it's going to make people violent. They're going to turn into killers. Compared to where we are now with video games, I think they should have chilled out. Fighting literal aliens, fighting the Covenant, which I think is really funny, a product of its time. I remember that being a hot topic. But yeah, my brothers, I remember being around 9. My brother's taking me shooting out to the range, showing me the safeties of all the safe handling of firearms. And then they would go off and join the Army, and I ended up doing the law enforcement route because I wanted to be different, as any younger brother would. So that was kind of my first exposure to kind of both worlds.
Yeah. And they joined the Army during did they end up any place violent?
Yeah, my brother, my oldest brother ended up in Iraq. And then my second oldest brother ended up in Iraq, or he did a Kuwait and then Afghanistan tour. Okay. And they were, my oldest brother was around, I want to say, maybe 06, 07, 09 in Iraq. He was saying like all the all the dumb terrorists had been killed by then, like the ones that would actually get in kinetic gunfights, and they were like more so.
I shouldn't be laughing. It's horrible that I laugh at something like that.
It's a part of history, really.
Yeah,
And so he was saying like their tactic was more so IEDs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then my other brother was I can't remember I can't remember how intense things got from him. I have to check, but I think my other brother was like maybe in Afghanistan, like 09, 010, 11, something like that. Yeah. It's a little bit hazy. They've moved far past it. They're the type of dudes much more professional than I am, right? Like they were Army officers, And so they had like this idea of like either getting out business, corporate, stuff like that. So that was their more wiring. I was not wired like that. I was terrible at college, terrible at school, and this sort of thing is more so my speed. The being as unprofessional but still somehow making money from it as possible is kind of like my goal.
Well,
Like
you just described entertainment, and I think YouTube works well. Is YouTube like I mean, you've got a huge number of followers, so you must be doing pretty well on YouTube. Is that your main source?
That is the bread and butter for now, yes, sir.
Okay. Oh, for now. Is that like you got something else you're cooking on? What
No,
are you
I mean,
thinking about?
my thing is you know, it's hard to say with channels. They have a lifespan. You know, you're going to have
Sure.
your high, you're going to have your taper off, and you're eventually going to die off and become irrelevant. I like YouTube a lot. My thing is I don't want to be stuck doing gun stuff forever. Eventually
Sure.
I want to evolve and move off. Will it be as successful as this? No idea. I
Sure.
can't say. I love making videos though. I love the creative aspect of it.
Yeah.
I love being my own boss on my own schedule.
You write your own scripts then? Is that pretty much what's
I do. Yeah, I write my own scripts. I sometimes will have people help me with research. Either they may write the script and I'll go over it and say tweak this, or this, or I'll write my own scripts just to help out with the production timeline. And then Colton will usually edit it, and I'm trying to build out the staff for some more editors too, just because I'm one man. I can't do everything.
No, it's a lot of work.
I'm just not good at certain stuff. I used to think like no one could replicate my editing style. No one could touch it. And then I give it to like a guy like Colton, and Colton just blows me out of the water. And it's like, all right, yeah, you're hired. You're on, dude. Yeah, come on. And then it frees up all this time for me to focus on other stuff like back end logistics, writing, business side of stuff. So
cool.
It really does help out a lot. Yeah. But for now, YouTube will be it. I think I can't do it forever. Eventually, I don't want to do it forever. Eventually, I want to fade off into obscurity and sail off into the sunset. But for now, I'm really enjoying it.
Well, that's cool. Yeah, I think it's an interesting crossover for you and I to be talking because I mean, it took me a while to finally actually own an actual firearm. It took until like it was sort of the middle of COVID and middle of like crazy town in Seattle, and I realized I just didn't feel personally all that safe. So I went out and I went to the range. I bought a Glock, something. I'm sure you know what it is, but I mean, if I had it here, I could show it to you, and you could say what the numbers are. It's the most standard kind of Glock you can get. I'm sure it's just and you know, I've shot it. I need to get back to the range though, because that was pretty interesting. And of course, if you don't practice with it, then it's not safe. That just seems logical to me. So I sort of need to get out there and make sure I remember how to hold it and fire it and stuff.
I think, was it around 2020, 21?
Probably, exactly. Yeah.
That was a great awakening for a lot of folks.
Oh, yeah.
No matter what your political background was, no matter what it is, there was all this turmoil going on. Everyone was like, hey, this is not looking so good. I think I want to make sure I'm protected. And I totally support that. You know, it's kind of like sewn into the whole foundation of our country.
Yes.
You know, I see all the talk about it, and it's the Pandora's box is open. It's not like they're ever going to get rid of guns. I think we own 50% of the world's guns.
Sure.
You know, we're only a population of 360 million or something like that last I checked. So there's no going back. But yeah, I mean, practice is important, especially with handguns. Handgun marksmanship and skill is a very challenging thing. Like I thought I used to be decent, then I came across even better shooters, and I was stacking myself up against government employees. And, you know, it's like obviously not the sharpest tools in the shed. And then you come across these guys that are like professional competition shooters, and they're just going to mop the floor with you. So that was really cool to experience. But I mean, a basic level of like someone trying to break into your house and you're armed. It's like, well, at least you got that covered, you know? So
and, you know, we went ahead and I got the, it's funny. I was trying to see if this still worked the other day, and it sort of isn't. So I'm like, oh, I gotta go find the key and fix this thing. I got one of those fingerprint, back of next to your bed safes, because I got 3 grandsons, and I don't want to have a handgun laying around. So, but it was just like, I put my thumbprint on it. Boom, it opened up, and I had it. It was great. And then the other day I thought, I should look at that again. And boom, beep, beep, beep. It doesn't work. And I'm like, oh, wow. I think I need to get that working again, because that was like, now it's like, I'm like, oh, I'm defenseless. But of course, nobody's broken into my house. So I feel like, I have no hurry. But no, I got to do that. So
you never have the nightmares where you can't like properly work it or get into it, and you have to like, or you can't dial 911, or you ever have those nightmares?
I don't have those nightmares. Now
You
you're probably
will
going to
now.
let. I'm going to have
Yeah.
those now. Thanks a lot.
Wake up in a cold sweat.
I have had nightmares where, you know, I'm like in a city someplace and I'm in the wrong part of town, and then I'm being mugged, and it's just like I realize in the dream, like that's it. I'm not going to live. I'm not going to survive this.
Yeah.
And that's pretty horrible. That's a horrible nightmare to have. So yeah, but no, I haven't had one of those like in my own house kind of nightmares. I probably will now because talking to you, and then also realizing that gun safe doesn't actually work at this moment. I'm going to have to go reset it. And my wife said, well, I think the battery's done. I was like, there's a battery in this? That doesn't make sense.
Yeah, we'll balance it out. You're going to have dreams of beautiful women seducing you. There you go.
Oh, thank you. There you go.
You come across the desert oasis, and the desert harpies then seduce you by the waterside and feed you fruit. How about that?
I like that. And speaking of beautiful women shooting guns, isn't it Sylvia? Yeah, Sylvia Sweeney. Isn't she the jeans lady girl?
Oh, Sydney Sweeney. Yeah.
Sydney. Yeah, not Sylvia. Sydney.
Yeah, she has great genes.
She has great genes. And I saw her shooting the handgun, and she was like doing spectacularly well. It was like, oh,
I never saw that.
Oh no, that just happened. It was like yesterday. It's online. You can see it.
Oh,
she's out at the range, and she's doing some timed thing, and she's shooting targets and whipping around, and it's like, wow. I mean, yeah, young men are just like, how can you not fall in love with her?
How do you not eat that up?
Yeah. So speaking of young men, so the other thing I saw when I was trying to like, I mean, you have so much content online. It's unbelievable. Congratulations, by the way. That's really cool. I saw that do you actually still have sort of in terms of nightmares, did you grow up with a sort of zombie phobia? Was that just part of one of your videos where you were talking about zombie apocalypse?
That's a cheesy subsect of like preparedness.
Yeah.
I remember there was a time where it was like, you know, Walking Dead at its prime when it first came out, probably 2010. I was in middle school at that point, and that was like a cool topic. But then it spawned all like the zombie response unit, and maybe they're kind of like a fun play with, you know, preparedness or preppers. And like they just kind of goof around with zombie stuff, because I have a hard time thinking anyone could take a zombie virus seriously, at least in America. At least if they're slow zombies. The horrific part about America, if they were slow zombies, your boss would be like, "Yeah, dude, you're still coming to work. I guess just bring a bat. No guns allowed. Our insurance can't handle that. Bring a bat."
Right. Yeah, you can kill them. If you can't kill them, you don't deserve to work here anyway.
The whole premise of The Walking Dead, like a zombie outbreak of slow zombies in Georgia, of all places, being successful. Hard time to believe it. Like if they're fast zombies and they're like, you have to shoot them in the head, a lot more believable as far as my suspension of disbelief. But
well, you know, it's funny because I mean, zombies is something, you know, it's a trope that I grew up with, and it was always the slow zombies, and you have to shoot them, you have to destroy the brain, right? And so, as a matter of fact, we worked on, obviously, we did Halo, and we had what we sort of considered our take on zombies, which is the Flood, and it was an infection kind of thing, and you get infected by essentially the face huggers, which are the infection forms that run around, look like little party hats. And then once you're infected, like you're a fast zombie. It was actually pretty fun because, you know, the Flood was former Marines and former Covenant aliens that had been mutated to the Flood, and they were essentially zombies, but they were fast. They were fast zombies, and they carried weapons. Yeah. And I remember when we introduced that to people, it was really fun because, you know, they were sort of expecting, okay, so there's these little popcorny guys running around, easy to kill. And then there were these horrible zombies that would come running out and slashing at you. And you thought that would be it. But as we got you deeper and deeper into the level, it's like, no, they're fast zombies. They can jump really high. They're not stupid. They're always attacking. You know, they aren't super strategic. But once we introduced zombies carrying rocket launchers, it was sort of like, oh, come on, you're kidding me. Now they got rocket launchers?
Whole new dynamic. Oh, I was there. I remember it. I was fighting the Flood. I was there. I remember when the music kicks on, you're like, what's that? What's happening?
What's this music? Yeah.
Oh.
Good. So you're one of the little kids that we freaked out.
Yes.
Yes.
Terrified.
Excellent. That's I'm hoping maybe I helped you move into the career you have now because of the.
Absolutely, absolutely did. I remember going from fighting the elites, and then all of a sudden you have like these face huggers coming out.
Excellent, good.
Core,
Well,
it's a core memory.
Is good. It's a core memory for you and apparently many people in your generation. So as I meet people, as you probably maybe I'm actually thinking I'm in politics now, so I'm actually going to run for Congress, which is pretty insane. But what's fun about running for Congress at this point is when I meet people who are sort of the behind the scenes political, wonky people, the people who are like running campaigns or advising campaigns, or figuring out how to like find people who donate to campaigns, all that kind of stuff. Yeah. It's a lot of people around your age, a lot of guys your age, and they went to college and got degrees in philosophy and political science and history and all that stuff, but they all played Halo, so they're thrilled to like. Yeah, we want to help you. Like, really? Okay. So it's fun. It's like I have a whole generation of people your age that grew up in a very, a time that really impressed them with the Halo thing. And so they're willing to help me because I worked on Halo. So that's
good nice to know that not only was I teabagging, but getting teabagged by the back screen political mechanical lever pullers. That makes me happy.
Yes, they are. They're in all walks of life now. That age bracket is very influential. It's very interesting. Yeah. Speaking of which, okay, so here's one of the things I was going to ask you about, because you also seem to have a pretty good knowledge of historical, as you say, kinetic battles.
Sure.
So I don't know how far back your interest in history goes, but obviously, some of the more 20th century, 21st century conflicts that are maybe obscure, you seem like you've done some studying of. Is that just an interest, or where's that coming from?
It's always an interest for history. I was one of those kids that grew up watching the History Channel. Like my dad would just have it on, and I always found it more interesting. It's like you're watching like World War II documentaries.
Yeah.
And I can't ever claim any sort of expertise, because with any sort of thing you kind of like realize is that like it just goes so deep and there's so much to learn. What's the shift, like the scale where it's like you think you know a lot, then you start to learn a bunch, and then you realize you don't know
I know what
anything.
you're talking about. Right.
That's kind of where I feel, where it's like I thought I used to know a lot of stuff, and then you realize there's always just so much stuff to know. But I mean, that interest in history has always been there, because I think history is so important to look at, because there's like that old saying of there's nothing new under the sun. I mean, you can always, like, your current political strife, you rewind the clock, it's like, all right, this country experienced this at this point, started to have either a rise or a decline, or things went wrong for them. So it's always kind of a big example puller that I like to look at.
I've heard the one I like is, I forget how it's actually said, but like a lot of times you say, history repeats itself. It doesn't so much repeat itself as it echoes. And that's the thing I think is interesting, because you can, if you've learned something about history, you can see the echo later. It's like, oh, this is very similar, not exact, but it's very similar. And but it's to me, it's funny. I remember growing up, my dad was in World War II and my father-in-law was in World War II, and you could talk to them about different things. My father-in-law actually was in Patton's Third Army, and so he was part of the Signal Corps that went and laid communications lines and stuff when the Patton's Army raced towards Bastogne, which is famous after D-Day. So anyway, it was really interesting to know guys who were actually there, but they were there. Like my father might have been 24 years old when he was there. My dad was like 19. I mean, they were just, they were young guys in something that was just so huge. But then they had the whole rest of their lives ahead of them, and they just honestly didn't talk about it very much.
Yeah.
And I've always felt sort of, I wish I had spent more time. They're both passed now, of course. And I just wish I had spent more time just sitting down and talking to them about like what their experience was like. But these guys were like so many veterans of World War II, they just didn't share much. And unless you had to really pull it out of them to get anything.
Yeah, it's a lot like unlike today, where it's like
Yeah.
our veterans now are like, hey, check out this book I wrote, you know? And it's like, oh, cool, another Navy SEAL wrote a book. All right, yeah, man, for sure. Yeah, back in the day, it's like you probably had just way more numbers. Everyone was involved, and it's like, yeah, we did it.
We
All right,
couldn't
we're
all
done.
write a book, right?
Yeah.
So I think I think you might be right. That might be part of it, is that there were so many of veterans that came home from that war. Yeah. And most of them, I think, didn't feel like they didn't do anything special compared to somebody else.
Yeah.
So why should they tell their story?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's kind of a bummer too, because it's like
is, totally.
the further you move away, the more interesting that stuff becomes, especially when it's a personal connection.
Yeah,
Oh,
totally.
Okay, you weren't some ground pounder dude at the front of the lines all the time, but you're still laying sick. Like, what was it like? Like, I want to know what Europe was like, what your experience was. Do I have any Europeans, relatives now? And stuff like that. So
exactly.
you didn't meet any nice French girls while you were over there?
Well, actually, it was funny because my dad, who was 19, he basically he was in London and he was part of the 12th Air Corps, whatever it was called. It was the Army Air Corps. So, but he was on the ground mostly. He was maintenance and believe it or not, he was a radio actor when he was a child actor on radio. And so when he enlisted, when he was 19, they asked him, like, what is your expertise? And he said radio. And so they put him in as a radar technician. It was the very, very beginning of radar. And it was like, he's probably one of the most non-technical people I've ever known. He had no technical skills at all. Electronics were a total mystery to him, but they had him working on these radar systems, which apparently he told me was radar jamming, which almost immediately failed. They were always behind the Germans. So whatever technology he was supposedly maintaining was kind of useless the whole time. But he did get to go up on one mission. So he described what that was like. He got to go, they took him on one bombing run and he was petrified. Yeah. But he did, towards the end of his life, after my mother had died, and they both lived well into their 90s. So like, I feel, talking about good genes, I feel good about that. But he had this little, I was asking him what it was like living in England and being part of this, Air Force thing. And he says, yeah, I was stationed in this one town. I wasn't far from this other little town. And then he got this little sort of glint in his eye and he goes, yeah, I remember this girl at her father's bike shop. And then he just sort of drifted off. And I'm like, okay, Dad, it's good. It's all right. I realized, he was 19. He was learning how to drink. He was learning all sorts of things. Yeah. And I thought, oh, that's a sweet memory. I wish I knew more about whoever that girl was. So
yeah. You find beautiful things in a horrific moment.
Well, so have you ever been tempted by mercenary things? Like, has that ever been something you thought, oh, that'd be cool to jump into one of those deals? I mean, obviously, I saw that administrative results is based on executive action. What is it called?
Executive outcomes.
Outcomes. Yeah. Which is a mercenary group, right?
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think the idea of mercenary work, it's a very interesting political topic because some people are like, that's gross, disgusting. Other people are like, well, it's just mercenaries have been around forever pretty much. I think it's an interesting where it's like you're willing to sell your body for a much better pay. To me, mercenary, like the whole idea of it, it's like people are willing to go and sign up for their country and that's a noble cause. But if you want to sign up for a company to get paid even better, it could have a negative view, which I always thought was an interesting dynamic.
Yeah.
That being said, personally, at this point in the game, I would rather not get my body cut in half in a foreign country and risk it. I mean, it's open to change, right? And go through the training again, get the proper training I would need to be like checked off, like, yeah, this guy's good to go for mercenary work. The problem with like getting paid to carry a gun is unless you're like really in the thick of it, most of that job is pretty boring. I would say unless you're actually like fighting, then it's a lot of tedious stuff. Like there's the saying where it's like 90% of it's just sheer boring, and then the other, maybe 99% of it's sheer boring work, and then the other 1% is actual like sheer terror.
Sure.
I mean, you're probably just getting paid to guard something of importance. Probably getting paid good in relative terms, but it's just not as like exciting as, you know, getting to do YouTube is to me. You know, you could call me a scaredy cat all you want. I'm having fun.
I will absolutely not call you a scaredy cat. I was just curious if you had enough you know, there's enough desire for some adrenaline that you would actually take a step like that, or is it just that you can watch some videos on it and that's close enough?
Yeah, I got a warm bed. I got a warm woman. I got bambinos to look after.
Ah, okay.
I think me getting blown up in a foreign country for a nice paycheck may not be the best long term. YouTube goes out, and you know what?
Who knows? All bets
I'll
are
go
off.
see if Eric Prince is interesting in a former beat cop YouTuber, but I would assume they have much better talent to choose from than
I gotta believe
skills.
a lot of mercenaries have got to be like former, you know, special forces guys and Navy SEALs and all that, and they just can't stop. I would imagine they just.
Yeah.
So I mean,
That's
I don't know
a big part of it. Like during the global war on terror, a lot of guys, even guys I knew, like I know currently, a big one would be Travis Haley. He's out here in Scottsdale. He was a Marine Raider and then got hired on at Blackwater.
Okay.
And so you have these guys that are very high speed, you know, very well trained, and then Blackwater comes along. It's like, hey, do you want to make even more money? Like just crazy amount of money for what you're doing. And it's like, no brainer. Yeah, I was already getting paid to do this. You're telling me I can get paid an exuberant amount more money? Absolutely.
Wow. And there's no, you know, once you've been in special forces in the U.S. military and you're out, like there's no restrictions on what you can choose to do, right? There's no like, oh no, you can't do that, or that you know of.
You know, I'm not an expert on that topic. I would assume those guys would want to play it safe and work for an organization that's not going to be getting them into a crazy amount of trouble. Because I think even Blackwater, you know, they had their controversy. So I mean, I think it's probably a bad idea if you're trying to go fight, you know, be a mercenary for like some sort of third world dictator. But
yeah,
if you're getting employed by like Blackwater, who's getting employed by the U.S. government, probably a safer bet, you know.
Yeah, I was curious about that. I mean, it seems to me like if there's mercenaries, you could be on, you could have mercenary groups on both sides or on two sides of one conflict, right? I mean, that would seem like, hey, Fred, how you doing? Oh, wait, Fred, what are you doing? You're on the wrong side. Like, I mean, it's got to be strange.
Yeah, I think
like I don't know how you choose sides. You just whoever pays the best, or like Blackwater's obviously not just looking for the best contract, I would assume, but I don't know.
I mean, in this day and age, a lot of political optics. I mean, if you rewind the clock, go back to like the 1400s, I think there was like the Swiss pikemen and like the German Landscheck pikemen, and I think they had a bitter rivalry, you know, for getting paid out for jobs. And I'm sure after a while in that type of warfare, you become it'd be like playing sports where you like start to know the other guys on the other team, you know?
Like gladiators or something.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, we've talked about it on a different podcast, but I remember like growing up playing football, and after a while, like even going to junior high, then you just like part ways, going to different high schools. You start to know the other guys on the other team.
Sure.
You're playing against them for like 4 years straight, you know?
Yeah.
So I can imagine that type of warfare where it's so close. It's like you may not kill that guy this time, but you know it's like Friedrich from this village. Yeah, we're probably going to see him again at this job. You know?
Friedrich.
Yeah.
So what's your opinion now about like it just seems like, and I had my latest thing podcast was a two-parter, and it was with a artist friend of mine, and we were talking only about AI. We were just really getting into AI and how much that has taken over on the entertainment side. You've got AI that's doing, you know, video and story, you know, pre-visualization of like special effects, doing the special effects itself, and they're so good. Writing, you know, music, all these things, acting, all this stuff is happening with AI. What's going to happen in like warfare with AI and drones and all that stuff? What do you think where it's going on that?
I think that kind of stuff is to us what gunpowder was to the night. I think it'll greatly reshape warfare, but I don't think it's gonna like be the do-all end-all. Like it's just gonna change tactics and how people approach situations. Anytime there's a new breakthrough technology, it's like this is it. This is gonna like, delete this, and it's like, well, hold on, we still have a need for this and this. And granted, yet again, not an expert on this topic, but looking at the historical trends. I mean, AI is definitely terrifying combined with these, you know, facial recognition drones zipping around, blowing people's face off, I would assume. a lot of terrifying Skynet implications. It kind of changes the type of warfare that we've known, even from the global war on terror. It's like if the first world's going against another first world, it's going to look like a much different sort of fighting. Even with drones, these cheap FPV drones taking out main battle tanks, it's crazy to see like that trend. It's like even go back to World War II, you have these dive bombers, and airplanes way cheaper to make than an aircraft carrier. Right. And then all of a sudden, an airplane, this relatively inexpensive tool, it can now take out this mega expensive, mobile aircraft carrier. So there's always been that kind of like this cheap thing can take out this really expensive thing, and it plays in the whole logistics of warfare. But it's gonna be, we'll find out, I guess. We'll find out as the horrors of mankind's inventions tear each other apart.
Yes. Well, I mean, it's funny for me to look at just the way some of these guys were sitting, they could be sitting in the United States in some military base, and they're actually flying drones, and they're using the two thumbsticks that we helped perfect for playing Halo, and like video game controllers seem to be like something that are being used now for real warfare, like people flying drones around and shooting people. And
that's hardwired into us.
It is.
You helped create a whole generation of child soldiers. Good job.
Yeah. We didn't mean to do that. We just thought it was fun. Come on. But speaking of which, I don't know, have you played, what are your go-to games? Do you still play games, or are you sort of moved on from games?
I do. I'm a little bit busier now, a little bit more adult responsibilities.
There you go.
When I do get time to play games, I prefer the more older games, I would say, like games for old guys. Trying to play Call of Duty, I'm just not that demographic anymore. Sure. I'm excited to see how Battlefield 6 will do. Any of the new Halos, I don't really play anymore. If I do play Halo, it'll be the Master Chief Collection, and we'll hop on like Halo 1, Halo 2, 3. Halo 3, the sweats are insane. Like those guys probably haven't stopped playing Halo 3 since it came out. And then of course, I think one of my favorite Halos is actually Reach.
Oh, cool.
But I love playing SWAT in that Halo. It's one of my favorite game modes.
Yeah,
my favorite game I probably play right now is Hell Let Loose. It's a World War II, I would say a more medium tier hardcore shooter where one round will kill you. A lot of teamwork and strategy goes into it. Recently playing Ready or Not, which is a police SWAT tactical shooter.
I've heard about that one, yeah.
Really, really fun, where the goal isn't necessarily to kill everyone, but it's to actually capture suspects. But the use of force matrix I find really interesting. And then a fun game is probably Hold Fast. I've been on a big Napoleonic War kick. And so they have Napoleonic War, and then they have World War I. The game mechanics are kind of wonky, but it's just one of those fun games to run around and just yell things.
All right. Well, then I have a game I can recommend you should look into. It's the last game I worked on, and now I'm sort of semi-retired, but it's still, I think we're still calling it early release, but it's been improved and improved and improved. It's called 6 Days in Fallujah. Have you heard of this one?
I have heard of this one, yeah.
Yeah, so that's a game I worked on. And what was interesting about working on that game was exactly one of those things you said. A lot of guys who came back from Fallujah, and we worked with a bunch of Marines, and they all had stories to tell, but they wanted to tell them through a game rather than through a documentary or a film or a book. These were guys who felt like the best way to show people what they went through was try to recreate some sort of game experience. And these were guys who actually were in Fallujah in 2004, and they actually played some Halo while they were over there, which is funny. That's how far back this goes. Yeah. And so, way years later, there we are working with them and interviewing them. And so it's a combination sort of documentary stuff of them telling their stories, and then you actually play as a Marine, but in a fire team. And so it's one of those, it's very niche-y in the sense that you need to play. The best way to play it is with 3 of your best friends and actually understand that, you get shot and you're done. Like you don't get to do jump spins and double jumps. And it's so our philosophy was we wanted to make, a game that was about war and not about a war movie.
Yeah.
This is not a war movie simulator; it's a war simulator, which means and the most unique thing about it is that it's it when you respawn, if you fail at whatever mission you're doing, and it's almost all you're in Fallujah and you're clearing houses and you're clearing blocks, and so, but if you fail in any way, and it could be an IED, it could be a terrorist jumps up and shoots you, whatever it is, the mission fails and you respawn, but everything changes. The building changes, the furniture changes, the streets change. It's still Fallujah. It's still based on a real place, but like everything's changed, including where all the enemies are. So you can't learn by dying. And from what we've seen, the hardcore folks that were actually Marines that were in combat, they go, "Wow, this is one of the most realistic." It brings back the feelings better than just about anything, because you never know what's going to happen, and you can't learn by, oh, yeah, the terrorist is behind that couch. He killed me last time. It's like, no, it's a different couch. It's a different room. The terrorists they're the AI is getting smarter and smarter, the enemy AI, and you're communicating with your team. And of course rules of engagement are super important. So, anyway, if you and your friends should think about checking out 6 Days.
I think someone from that has hit me up at some point, but I think I was pretty busy, never got a chance to really sink my teeth into it. But now knowing that I have a personal connection to someone that worked on it, and I remember seeing gameplay and I thought that looks awesome.
Yeah.
But just not having the time to get to it. I do have another channel where potentially maybe a video on that even could be worthy, but I think that's really cool. Because Ready or Not's kind of like that, and I was even talking to Colton and when doing the video, I was like, man, imagine where the AI is going to be for video games down the road.
Absolutely.
As the computer gets more intelligent and starts working against you, it makes these situations makes playing these shooter games way less fun, So
that was the concern. Yeah, that was the concern I had. Is like, well, it's fun to be able to double jump and strafe shoot and circle around and do, great, cool World War II era movie stuff that's completely unrealistic. It's really hard to we got to go really slow, and we got to every door you look at, it could be booby trapped, and there could be bad guys right behind it, and you're checking corners all the time, and you can't see, and you don't. You're sitting there with a long gun inside, which is not necessarily the best thing to have, but that's what these guys had in Fallujah.
I've seen that footage. They're doing room clearing with 20-inch rifles, and it's like point blank, house to house. That battle was absolutely insane. And they're not just fighting in Ready or Not. You're fighting. There are some high-end bad guys, but that's like everything in Fallujah. These guys armed to the teeth that are true believers, willing to go down for the cause. Yeah. And it's an actually terrifying thing when you start closing the gap with those guys.
Yeah. Well, making the game, I learned a lot. I mean, you sort of have this, vision in your head of what terrorists look like, and there's these guys from Chechnya who were 18 years old, the red-haired white guys wearing Michael Jordan T-shirts and Air Jordan sneakers, and they were running around shooting Marines. It's like you didn't know who you were going to see coming out of the buildings. In Fallujah, it attracted everybody in the world who said, "I want to kill Americans," and they just came. They descended upon Fallujah so they would have a shot at killing Americans. It was a horrible. It was just a horrible situation in every way you look at it, and so anyway, we're trying to recreate that for some reason.
Yeah. I don't know if I'd want to face off against Marines with 20-inch rifles and bayonets, though. That's a whole nother level of crazy in my mind.
So if this reminds me of this thing that happened last week, and I was thinking about this. That guy who went to New York, and he was from Las Vegas. He was actually lived down not that far from me, apparently, in this little area of northwest Las Vegas, and he went into New York with a long gun and just tried to kill NFL people or whatever that thing was. And last week, was it, or 2 weeks ago?
You want to go down the conspiratorial rabbit hole?
Oh, you got something? Okay, yeah.
So from what I saw, I don't think he was actually targeting like NFL stuff. I think it was related to the Blackstone, like investment firm,
really? Yeah, I heard they were there too.
in that he took out a Blackstone executive.
Hmm.
So from what I heard, yet again, grain of salt, could be wrong. I'm gonna do it on the internet. From what I heard, targeted a Blackstone executive, and the media is kind of covering it up because they don't want another Luigi Mangione
Sure, there you go.
martyr. So that's why they reported a different story, because I think Blackstone has to do with all this investing of buying up, homes all throughout the country,
Sure.
like massive investments here. I think in Arizona, California, Nevada, and so if that got out and that was a story, potentially it's like this guy was targeting a Blackstone exec that oversees all the buying up of these homes, and it's like the narrative could have gotten out of their control, where it's now he's a martyr for a cause because he represents the disenfranchised of why people can't buy homes. That's what I heard. And it happened, and it even goes deeper, where it's like on the 33rd floor, which I think has to do with like Masonic beliefs and stuff like that. So you can really go down that rabbit hole.
So my trouble, I'm older than you, obviously. So I've gone through many different conspiracy theories and rabbit holes. What I've learned as an older person is that it's really hard to do these things. The conspiracies that you end up reading about are so complex and so intricate that it just isn't the way human beings are. They're not that good at keeping secrets that are that complex. Area 51 and the Kennedy killing. There were so many beautifully intricate, complex things, and it's usually never as complex as you would like it to be. As someone who likes fiction, we're attracted by complex conspiracies, but usually it's much more boring than that.
I would say usually it's more
you might be right.
Yeah, I think it's more financial related. Is there this great secret powerful cabal? In some ways, I think there could be. In other ways, probably not. I think maybe the corporate execs are looking at like, how can we make this extra money or something like that. But yeah, sometimes with conspiracy theories, it could be hit or miss. The problem is I think with COVID, it really ramped up at least my belief in a lot of conspiracy theories, where it's like they're pushing this new experimental drug. And I had no problem. Like, someone wanted to take it, that's fine. But from what I was seeing, it's like, if this is this miracle do-all thing, but you're threatening me to take it to save my life, that feels kind of weird. And then you fast forward down the road.
Did you take it, or did you refuse? Did you ever get one jab?
I wanted to always bank on my sperm being of great value. So I always wanted to bank on that.
Okay.
No, I never took it, because I was seeing this stuff. I was seeing like hyper athletes, pass out or die on the field. And to me, I was like, dude, you really have a Ferrari of a human being worth millions of dollars.
What? Yeah.
Going down like that. And of course, you fast forward and it has all then now they come out with all these side effects like, hey, you may get blood clots. You may have all these adverse effects. So I was like, that kind of confirmed it.
Yeah.
It's like usually with conspiracy theorists, it's like you're just early to the game and then everyone catches up down the road.
Yeah, that's true. Well, you know what? Congratulations. I think your sperm probably is very valuable. You have no, whatever that rDNA, whatever problem.
Yes. My wife hates that joke. So,
well,
yeah.
You should say my first wife hates that joke.
You get him on the next round, right? You got to work out the kinks.
It's funny. Well, I don't know why I shouldn't even share this, but so my grandfather was born. Are you ready for this? My grandfather, just straight up grandfather, was born in 1855.
Your grandfather was born in 1855.
1859. Sorry, I was born in 1955. So 96 years later, I came along. He was no longer around, but yeah, my grandfather was born in 1859.
Oh my!
His second wife he married in 1900. And my mother was the caboose of he had something like 18 kids total between the two wives.
Wow.
And my mother was born 10 years after the next youngest. So she was born in 1923. So talking about good genes, I have very old genes. But what used to kill me was, so I think he was 64 when my mother was born. So, and by the way, 64 doesn't seem all that old to me anymore. But when my wife and I were first married, after we had two kids, she was like, well, what was actually, I hate to admit this, it was before she had my second child, and she was like, well, maybe this should be it, because she had to have a C-section, and it was, you know, it was a very traumatic thing. But it was like the issue was, should I get a vasectomy? And I kept saying, well, you know, if I get a vasectomy, you know, my grandfather had a child when he was 64, you know, and I'm only like 27. Like,
yeah. I had a lot of life ahead of me.
She was like, how many wives do you think you're going to have? And I'm like, well, I mean, who knows what the...
I don't know. I want to have my options.
So, yeah.
I've had plenty of buddies get vasectomies, and I'm like, I don't... My wife has like talked about. I'm like, I'm not neutering myself. I don't want to do this. Yeah. I want to stay lethal. I want to stay potent.
That's right. I've got a history. You know, my history. Yeah. My grandfather, he was still going when he was 64, having kids. So I'm like, I don't know what the future brings.
I want to keep my cards open.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, sorry, my grandpa was around before the Civil War. My bad.
He was. That's when I see, you know, Civil War documentaries and stuff, and I think, yeah, my grandfather was born. He was born in Sweden, so this is not on my Irish side. This is on my Swedish side. So I think my long genetics of
that's why you got good genes. The Swedes are like the high elves of Europe.
Is that what that is? Okay, yeah. I like that.
Yeah.
That's why they're all.
I was in Finland at a shooting competition, and I befriended a nice Swedish man. The dude was like 39, I think he's 41 now. Great genetics, stud athlete, like really just like, I'm like envious of this dude's genes, you know what I mean? Yeah. That's when I realized, like, oh, the Swedes are like, they're like the high elves of Europe. I sure have Lord of the Rings type folks.
I think somebody was talking about conspiracy theories the other day. They were saying, well, the reason all the Swedes and the Norwegians are such good-looking people is that the Vikings came over, raided England, and only took the good-looking women back with them.
Yeah, of course. Absolutely. It's called selective breeding.
Yeah.
That's like a hypergamous Viking raiders want to get all the hot girls. And like, I don't want this one.
I think there's probably some truth to that. I think that's probably...
Absolutely, there's truth to that. Are you kidding me? Are you telling me these dudes in like the 900s are like, yeah, I want to bring this ugly broad back? No. They just sailed on a boat across a treacherous open in a rinky-dink.
A real risk. Yeah.
They're going to take back the hottest broads they find. Yeah, no, that's absolutely a thing.
You realize this is why so many people hate men like us, because people don't understand that we're telling truth, but there's some humor involved. It's not like
they hate him or he spoke the truth. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. It's a matter of fact reality. I'm not going to live in your make-believe world. Okay?
Yeah, I mean, this is actually something that's just a logical thing. It's like the Vikings. Now, some of the Vikings actually then went ahead and, you know, stayed in England. But I gotta believe, I think it's got to be true. The ones who went back with their booty, you know, their double dose. Yes, double dose of booty. They were getting the good booty. So, I mean, that's got to be it.
Absolutely, they were.
Well, you know, I could probably get into so much trouble. I'm running for Congress. I'm not sure if this is something I should be saying. I might have to add
talking about Viking rape may be bad on the congressional ticket. You may want to. I mean, I can do it for you.
I'll blame you. Somehow. It's like I was. Yeah. Sure. I was led down this wrong path. All right. So there's something else I wanted to ask you about to see what you think about. Like, there's a group of young people that are talking to me a lot about this Stop Killing Games movement. Have you heard about this movement yet?
No. What's the gist of it?
Okay, the gist of it is that when you buy games today, you're not actually buying a game. You're buying a license to play a game, and it's, you know, games as a service, which is like software as a service, which means you're buying this license that the publisher could just like turn off at any moment. And if you read the fine print on what you're buying, you don't actually own anything. You just own the right to play this product until they decide it's dead. And like there's no time limit even. Like you could buy you could buy Call of Duty and like, I'm going to start playing some Call of Duty online, and they can just say, no, we turned off the servers, and now we're going to, if you want to play this, you have to play the next version and download that. You don't actually physically own a tangible copy of something, even if you have a disc in your hand. The disc right now in a lot of these products are actually just keys for you to be able to get online and download the latest version of the code. So have you run into that at all, or are you sort of far enough away?
I've heard of that. I've heard of the whole you really only have a digital copy thing. I really don't have super strong opinion. It doesn't keep me up at night. I don't like the idea of it, right?
Yeah.
If I'm paying for something, I like the idea of like, all right, this is my game now. I can play it until the wheels fall off. But yeah, I mean, if that's what a company's doing, I think ideally I wouldn't like that. If the world ever ends and I'm in my bunker, I want to have all my games lined up so I can kill some time. But
yeah,
if the servers ever go down forever.
Well, I mean, so the thing is that it's starting the dissatisfaction is starting with the gamers, and so there's a stop killing games movement, but it's also starting to move into not just the software side, but other digital media. Mm-hmm. So it's sort of like, you think you're buying a movie, let's say on Netflix or Amazon Prime or something, and they have the right to just, even if you bought it, not just rented it, if you bought it, they have the right to go, nope, boink, it goes away. Or you can buy into a streaming service and you think, oh, I like this because the full, all the Star Treks ever made are on here. And then like 2 months later, it's like, no, we don't have those anymore. We sold them to Paramount or something like that. And you start realizing that what do you actually own with streaming and cable, and even, books. They actually, believe it or not, one of the books they deleted from people's libraries without them knowing it was 1984 by George Orwell, which is actually ironic.
Poetically ironic. Poetically very ironic. With that stuff, it's like, I guess buy the hard copy is what I would do. But
well, yes, buy the hard copy of the book. But like when there's only digital copies, that's starting to get funky.
It gets a little Orwellian. I mean, if we're playing devil's advocate, try not to get too conspiratorial. I mean, them getting rid of 1984 is like the big red flag of like, wait a second. What are you doing?
Did you do that on purpose? Yeah.
What are we doing here? I mean, anything else, I could see like maybe on their servers, their platforms to play devil's advocate. Maybe they're running out of space. They need to open up and they're looking at the numbers like this obviously is getting no traction, making us very little money when we could put this new thing on that's going to make us more money and save us space on our server. That's like my only guess, like realistically.
Well, some of it could be, hey, it was, NFL 17, whatever, Madden 17 or Madden 29, whatever it is. And now we want you to pay Madden 30. So the old servers are gone. And if we don't care who you liked or what players you invested in or whatever, we're just you have to buy the new one.
Yeah.
So I think that's what some of the gamers are like, back in the olden days when I made games, if you had the Halo 1 disc, that you still have that disc, you can play the game as long as you can find the hardware to play it on. But because the actual game itself was on that disc, we didn't have the ability to have you connect to the internet and upgrade or update. So and those changes happened over time, and they all make sense. But like it has changed the relationship between consumer and developer and publisher. So you haven't. You ask some of your the kids in your audience, ask them about this. You'll see some real passion behind it.
I definitely might have to do that. I think what was I thinking about? It's one of those like the corpo, almost Blade Runner style of corporation of like always buy the new thing.
Yeah.
Never stop consuming.
Yes.
We need to get more money out of you. We have the new thing. It's like why like the conspiracy theory of like your iPhone battery after you pay it off starts just dying real fast. You're like, wait, what the heck? I just paid this thing off.
Yeah.
What's going on here?
Yeah, planned obsolescence. Yeah, one of the things that's funny about this movement is they talk about end of life plans, which is like when these products are getting near the end of their existence. Like, what is the plan? How do you end the life of this product, and how do you explain that to the fans and the users? And the fans are like, look, we want a decent end of life plan where we can keep it going in our own servers, or there's a whole bunch of stuff. But it's one of those weird things where, like, well, as a, sort of Republican conservative guy, I'm not interested in having the government get too involved in it. But on the other hand, I look at this and say, this is sort of a rotten deal, and consumers should have a little bit more, there should be at least more transparency on what you're buying and what you're paying for. So it does seem like a ripoff. So,
I mean, I think a lot of that stuff applies to across the board. I think I did come across someone I follow that does like writing, and they were talking about that sort of why things feel a little bit cheaper nowadays. Like you're always replacing stuff, and it's like even down to your washer and dryer.
Yeah, they don't last.
Maybe going like more analog, trying to find stuff that doesn't have the digital screens. And I kind of like that. That resonates. Some of those appliances probably hit a peak, and you realize, these big wigs at the company are like, hey, we have partners and stock that we have to maintain. Let's introduce something new, and always keep chasing that consumeristic goal. But after a certain point, you got to think like they probably have the technology to make the perfect washer and dryer that's going to run forever.
Last forever, right? Exactly.
Yeah, but there's no money in that.
Well, this is fascinating. I was wondering what we were going to talk about, but like, you're a very interesting guy. I like watching your stuff.
Thank you. Thank you.
I will let you know that I fixed my gun safe, so I'm able to get my thumbprint working again. Maybe it's my thumbprint.
I say just roll the dice, see what happens.
Yeah, that seems really encouraging.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks for being on the show. This was a lot of fun. Let's keep talking, and tell your fans about the 6 Days in Fallujah, and then also the Stop Killing Games movement. Let's see what they think about that.
See what we can do. We'll raise awareness.
All right. Sounds good.
All right. Thanks, Aaron. We have to start the great game genocide.
There you go. Exactly. Yeah. Kill all the games that are you don't really own. Just like get rid of all those. Yeah. Bring out, it's like the vinyl version of games. Yes. That's what we need, like vinyl. It's like games vinyl. I like that.
I like that. I think it's a pretty good movement.
Cool. All right. Thanks, Aaron. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
All right. See you, everybody.